Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about a topic that's, way more than just a corporate buzzword, workplace diversity. And this isn't about just checking some boxes on a form. It's about unlocking the incredible potential that happens when you bring different minds and different experiences together. So let's look at how we can go from just being aware of diversity to actually taking action that makes our teams and our work that much better.
Okay, let's jump right in by tackling a really common assumption. You've probably heard this idea floating around in some way, shape, or form. But is it actually true? Are these programs only for a select few, or is there a much bigger picture we might be missing?
Yeah, that's a big resounding false. This whole idea that diversity initiatives are some kind of zero-sum game is one of the most stubborn myths out there. The reality? The benefits are designed to be like a rising tide that lifts the entire organization. Think about it this way. A diverse workplace is basically an innovation engine. When you bring together people with different backgrounds and points of view, you get this amazing, creative friction that just sparks new ideas and better ways to solve problems. It's all about building a culture of fairness where everyone feels valued and, more importantly, feels like they can contribute their absolute best work. All right, so we've busted myth number 1. Let's keep that momentum going. We're going to tackle a few more of these common misconceptions to get a really clear picture of what diversity actually is all about in today's workplace. So, what's your gut feeling on this one? We hear so much about changing demographics, but what does that really mean for the people we work with every day? Is the workforce becoming more of the same, or is it actually becoming more varied? And that's another myth that just doesn't hold up. The data is super clear, and it all points in one direction. Our workforce is becoming more diverse, not less. Let's dig into what that actually looks like. This is a shift that's happening on so many different levels. We're seeing more generational diversity, with people staying in their careers longer, and those old-school gender roles for certain jobs, they're totally evolving. So yeah, diversity is a really dynamic and growing part of how we work now. This brings us to a really fundamental question. What are we even talking about when we say the word diversity? For a lot of people, it's just about the stuff we can see on the surface. But is that really the whole story? Nope, not at all. And that's a really common trap to fall into. But if we only focus on those visible differences, we are missing out on the deeper, way more powerful parts of diversity that really make teams successful. This slide just illustrates it perfectly. The visible stuff, race, gender, age, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's the invisible qualities that are the real game changer. We're talking about how we think, our education, our unique life experiences, our values, all of that comes together to create what's called diversity of thought. And that is the wellspring of creative problem solving and amazing new ideas. So what happens when you bring all these different perspectives into one room? Well, let's be honest, it's not always a perfectly smooth process. There can be some real challenges. But if we understand those challenges, we can unlock the incredible opportunities that diversity brings to the table.
You can see there are some initial hurdles, right? Like getting used to different communication styles or figuring out how to coordinate different ways of working. But then you look at the other side. The long-term benefits are just huge. You attract and keep the best talent. Morale goes up. You make smarter decisions, and you drive real innovation. The opportunities absolutely outweigh the challenges.
And this quote from Stanford really gets to the heart of it. The idea is that conflict on a diverse team isn't automatically a bad thing. Not at all. The key is to encourage healthy debate about ideas while making sure it doesn't get personal. The way a team handles that dynamic, that's what separates the good teams from the truly great ones.
So how do we create that kind of constructive environment? Well, it often comes down to the basics. So let's get practical and talk about one of the most powerful tools that every single one of us has, our language. Okay, let's start with gender identity. This is all about an individual's own internal sense of their gender. It's not about how other people see them, it's about how they see themselves. It's a really fundamental part of who a person is.
Next, we have gender expression. Now, this is about how a person presents their gender to the world. This can be through their name, the pronouns they use, their clothes, and all sorts of other outward expressions. The word transgender is really just an umbrella term. It describes a person whose gender identity is different from the sex that they were assigned at their birth. It's a simple, respectful definition that helps clarify the term. And that brings us to misgendering. This is what happens when we use language, like a name or a pronoun, that doesn't line up with a person's gender identity. And whether it happens by accident or on purpose, it can be really hurtful. But here's the absolute key thing to remember. Nobody expects you to be perfect. Mistakes can and do happen. If you use the wrong pronoun, just simply and quickly correct yourself. Say a brief sorry and move on. The goal isn't to be flawless, it's to be respectful. It's the effort that truly matters.
Okay, so beyond that really important interpersonal respect, there's also a legal framework in place that ensures fairness in the workplace. Let's take a quick look at some of the laws that protect employees from discrimination.
This table gives you a really quick overview. You've got major laws like the Civil Rights Act, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Essentially, what these laws do is make sure that decisions at work are based on a person's skills and their qualifications, not on things like their race, their age, or if they have a disability.
All right, we have covered the big picture. We've busted some myths, and we've even touched on the legal side. So now, let's bring it all back home to you. What can each of us do every day to help build a more inclusive and respectful workplace? This isn't about some huge, grand gesture. It's about the small, consistent things. Be curious about your coworkers, challenge your own assumptions, and avoid stereotypes. Actively encourage teamwork between people from different backgrounds. And finally, just try to think inclusively. Look for reasons to bring people in rather than leave them out. These simple, everyday things can create a huge cultural shift when we all do them together.
So we'll leave you with this one question to think about. When you think about your own team and your daily interactions, what's one tangible step, one small thing you can do tomorrow to make your workplace just a little more respectful and inclusive?